Okay, so tonight I thought it'd be a good night to go over how the bill's calculated. I don't do video editing, and this is my first blog, so have some patience. All this information is readily available on the city's website. You can Google it, you can find it. Start by searching for the City of Carmi Code electric rate. It's the first thing that pops up right there. It brings you down to service rates and charges. These are the class rates: E1, E2, all the way through different commercial accounts. For all of us residential, we are rate E2. It's clearly defined here. So I wrote this out. In the code, at the rate schedule, E2 is set up with this schedule, with a $5 minimum bill and a % added if you're outside the city. Other line items are taxes, which we can't get rid of and we can't change. They are set the way they are. Nothing can be added or subtracted to it. When calculating the bill, the first 25 kilowatts are charged at 15.19 cents per kilowatt hour. The next 200 are charged at 12.16 cents per kilowatt hour. The next 575 are charged at 11.15 cents per kilowatt hour, and anything over 800 is charged at 10.54 cents per kilowatt hour. This is basic. Most rate schedules are set up like this. The issue is the cost adjustment. That's the part that confuses everybody. The cost adjustment isn't very difficult. On the website, if you scroll down to energy cost adjustment, it describes exactly how the cost adjustment is created. We are a residential E2. We don't have a demand cost adjustment. We just have the energy use cost adjustment. Through all of the words that you can go over right here, which are simplified definitions of what you can read in that Part B cost adjustments on the website, it boils down to they are using your total kilowatt hours used in one billing cycle and multiplying that by the total cost that it takes the city to get electricity to all of us residential users, minus the amount that the city has received in the past from us residential users, and divides that by all of the kilowatts that us residential users have used over the past 12 months. So this gets a weighted average on the cost it took to give us electricity minus how much they've received from us, divided by how many kilowatts were used. So that gets a rate. That rate is weighted to each person in this E2 residential class. So your neighbor who doesn't use any power is not going to have a large cost adjustment. But your other neighbor who may have lights on all the time, never closes their doors, runs space heaters in every room, they're going to use a lot more kilowatt hours. So their cost adjustment is going to be higher. So this is weighted based on how much you use, which is fair. If you use more power, you have a greater demand for power. Your transformer is going to be larger. The wire to get electricity to you will make the wire size higher. So, adding on to this information of the cost adjustment, it's not just some random frivolous number that's added onto it. It's because these rates on the website, these E2 rates, they don't go up and down every week, every month, every billing cycle. These rates have been static for many, many, many years before COVID. And we know the price of everything has gone up and down, and it has tended to drive upwards. So you can't stick with these rates and not change them for 10 years and expect the city to stay afloat. So they set this base rate. This is the base cost to get you electricity whenever this was set. Then as we buy electricity, as the city buys electricity, and that price goes up, and the wages go up, and everything goes up, they have to account for it without changing that rate every single billing cycle. Over time, there's going to be line maintenance. There's going to be pole replacements. There's going to be upgrades for the wire. There's going to be upgrades to transformers. Transformers are going to go bad. Cutouts are going to blow. There are costs that these lines incur. New services that are added on. That's new wire. That's new poles. That's new transformers. That's new cost. Any new laws that come out where equipment has to be changed, safety protocols are changed. These situations cost the city money. Wage increases over time. Wages cannot stay stagnant for 10, 15 years. That's a cost incurred. Insurance increases. The removal of old retired services that will never come in, those are costs. Those are hourly wages. Storms that come in and break poles, throw lines down. Linemen that are out in the middle of the night. Taxes that the city has paid. And because of our increased usage of electricity, we have a higher demand for electricity. So when everybody comes home in the evening and turns on their stoves, their lights and everything, there's a major demand, a call for electricity, which means that wire and those transformers and all the equipment on the line has to be large enough to serve every one of these houses when everybody comes home at 5:20. And as time goes on and that demand gets larger, all of our equipment has to be upgraded to account for this. And without changing the rate every month, that increased operating cost shows up in the form of a cost adjustment based on our class. Our class's usage, our class's cost, and the amount that the city has collected from our class. It makes it fair, even, and weighted to each specific residential user. And to see how it works, here's my bill. I used 545 kilowatt hours. My electricity cost was $118.41. Based on the rates, 25 kilowatts was $379. The next 200 were 24. The next 320 kilowatts were 35. That came up to $63. That was the cost to provide us electricity however long ago that those E2 rates were set up. But prices have increased, so the cost adjustment was my 118 minus that old price. My cost adjustment was $54.61. And if you divide that by my total kilowatt hours used, that was a 10-cent cost adjustment. So whenever these rates were set of an average of approximately 12 cents per kilowatt hour, they haven't quite doubled. But what else in our world hasn't doubled since early 2020? So looking at some of these bill sizes, 1,000 kilowatt bill, you can follow through here, is $113 at the E2 rate, plus the cost adjustment is $213.51 bill. At Wayne White, it would be a little bit less, but they still have a service availability charge. Their kilowatt hour usage is $12,379. If you had a $500 or a 500 kilowatt bill, your bill added up the same way is going to come out to about $109. And at Wayne White, it's going to be about $106. It's very similar. A 500 to $1,000 kilowatt bill, very, very average. We complain about the electricity prices going up and throw a big fit about it. But the same thing is happening with gas prices. It goes up and down weekly, daily. And nobody says a word. Nobody complains about it. But they're seeing the same problems. Their lines aren't electricity lines. Their lines are pipelines, fuel lines, containment for gasoline. They have all of these same issues here, and those prices continue to rise at the gas pump, but nobody says a word. So why is this cost adjustment an issue here, but not there?